This week on the podcast, let's talk about, Sean, Social Security, how it can affect your retirement, your strategy, your overall planning. And I know you got kind of a case study breakdown for us to kind of highlight some of those things and how it can affect people. Because you're talking significant amount of money here when you're planning for Social Security. So you want to make sure you get this right.
Yeah, I mean, there's money that can be left on the table, depending on when you file.
Mm-hmm.
And what I wanted to really hit on today is really combat some of the financial marketing that's out there.
Okay. All right.
And you hear all the time. I have clients or prospects come and meet with us, and they tell us, "Hey, tell me how to maximize Social Security. Tell me how to maximize it."
Right.
I heard on the radio, or I went to this seminar, and this person told me that I could maximize Social Security. So I need to understand how to do that. And quite honestly, the simple answer is work till you're 70.
I was going to say, work till you can't put any more into it.
Work until you can't anymore. And that's not usually what people want to hear. Now, with Social Security, it's not about maximizing it and getting the most money out of the Social Security system down the road. And what I mean by that is, I don't necessarily care about getting the most monthly paycheck.
Okay.
Now, this is a math problem that is unique to each and every individual. So when we look at Social Security from a planning perspective, we really need to take into account, all right, what does the entire picture look like?
Right.
But more importantly, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about, the getting to an 8, 9, or 10. Having an optimal Social Security strategy is one of those requirements to have an income strategy that's an 8, 9, or 10. So I thought, let's talk about that today, and let's go through a real life case design, a real life plan that we just worked on, that we completed, and talk about the differences of, just going down this path of what you think you should do versus taking some time, some energy, and some mathematics to determine really what should you do.
Yeah, because I think most people, like, you have the camp of, I'm eligible, I'm 62, turn it on, and then you have the other camp that says, well, I'll work till, full retirement age, 66 or 67, depending on what it is, and then, or maximizing it to 70. And all of those, those are your three options, but then there's like a whole subset of other options that you can really look at, spousal stuff, all that kind of thing. So yeah, let's break it down. So I know you got a couple of slides, so we'll throw the first one up for you and you can kind of talk us through it a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and what's funny about while you're pulling that up, I was on a hike with my wife in St. George over the holidays. It was 60 degrees down there. We try to go down between Christmas and New Year's, and we came up to this ridge, and there's this hike in St. George that overlooks kind of Santa Clara area, Entrada, Black Desert. And these two older gentlemen were talking, and I just kind of was doing my thing. I was enjoying my time with my wife, but you could hear them talking, and they were talking about Social Security, which this guy's like, I'm going to wait a couple years to take it. I'm retired now, but I'm going to wait. That way I get more monthly, but then it also gives my wife more if I die, which, bless his heart, like, great idea. But what that led me to realize that he hadn't talked to really anybody about it. It was just like, this is what I want to do. This is what I think I'm going to do. And so I wanted to build a case study around what we think we should do versus what we should actually do. Here are the issues. So here are the real facts of this plan. We worked with a family that was 59, husband and wife are both 59 years old. Their goal retirement was actually 63 and 62. Fortunately for him, he had a pension through his employer. So it was a private pension, which we don't see a whole lot of anymore. Right. But he does have a pension, which for them is going to be approximately 56 grand a year, which is a phenomenal pension. However, they needed around 124,000 a year. So now you're starting to see the income gap. They need 124. Their pension's going to provide 56,000. So there is around a $70,000 income gap, right? So they saved 1.2 million. They're great savers. They're still going to continue to contribute over the next couple of years, but their current plan with Social Security was to take it at 67 because that's full retirement age.
Right.
Now, what does that mean for them? Well, Social Security for them at age 67 for his full retirement age amount is about 47,000. She's about 17,700, so she'd be on the spousal benefit as well. Mm-hmm. So they'd have a pretty significant chunk of Social Security income coming in, and their plan actually worked fine. So they could spend down their assets over that 4-year period. It equated to around $300,000 of their $1.2 million that they'd have to use in order to get to age 67 before they pulled up Social Security. Because remember, when you don't take Social Security, your income need doesn't change.
Right.
So you have a choice. You can either use the Social Security benefit or you can use your own asset.
Yeah. Which horse are you riding? You're riding the horse that you brought or the one the government brought,
Right. And so when we looked at that, I said, all right, well, let's actually take a look at a different Social Security strategy.
Okay.
Now, we said, all right, well, if you're going to retire at 63 and 62, what if we took Social Security at retirement? We don't wait. However, we understand the downside to this. The downside is there's a reduction of benefit. For him, he'd get around $33,000 a year instead of 46 or 47. That's a pretty significant reduction.
Talking about taking it early, right? So you get that 30% reduction roughly.
Yeah. If he took it early, if she took it early, she would get around $12,000 a year. Okay. She'd still get a spousal. It would be a little bit more than that, but not by much. So the first downside to taking it early is that they get a lower benefit. Mm-hmm. The second downside is that there's a lower spousal benefit.
Right.
And the third side is that it's a lower Social Security benefit for her if he were to pass away.
Right, because you're only going to get one of two when he passes. So obviously they're going to keep the higher of the two, but it's not as high as it might have been to that guy's conversation you saw out there at the rock formation or whatever. Let me hang on till 70 because it maximizes it, and when you pass, the spouse gets the higher of the two.
Yeah. So that's the issues. Now, what that does though is that they now have $45,000 of income roughly coming in at 63.
Right.
Their income gap is much, much smaller. So they needed 124. They had pension of about 56. Now they've got, $44,000 coming in from Social Security. So they really only need to pull out $24,000 a year from their investments in order to accomplish their income need.
Right.
So the upside, they get 4 extra years of Social Security. If the unknown happens during Social Security or during that period of time, they pass away, they, whatever, they get sick or hurt, or they've got that income still coming in. Retire at 64, they took or 63, they took a year of Social Security and passed away. The spouse, they at least got that year's worth of income. But the bigger opportunity here is that they are now leveraging the government and that social benefit of Social Security to provide a much larger benefit to their plan.
Right.
So by using Social Security early, and we've got another slide on this, by using Social Security early in their situation, it actually added $345,000 to their asset base at death.
Which you wouldn't think that would be the case. And so when we toggle back and forth between the two slides, so, you've got the recommendation, right, which you can see here shows the $300,000 gain down here on the right side. And then, of course, on the other slide, we'll go back to the first one, you can see there's no gain, right? There's no gain in value added. So interesting because that's not what you would normally think.
No, you think, oh, well, I wait and I hold on, I get the higher income.
I get the higher amount, yeah.
There's a break-even point, 78 to 80 years old, whatever. But the bigger issue with this particular family is that they wanted to retire earlier.
Okay.
And they were going to push Social Security out to full retirement age. So in his case, he had a 4-year income gap window. She had a 5-year. So now we're running into that. They've got to create income from their assets for 4 and 5 years and use their money that they've worked hard to save and accumulate during that period of time. And once that money's withdrawn and pulled out, it's never coming back, right? Like if I spend $1, I don't get that dollar anymore.
Right.
So when we look at strategically planning and using Social Security, there's a lot of thought that comes into how do we maximize your dollar rather than your Social Security benefit.
Right. To your point earlier on, when you said people hear the commercials or they hear the thing and they say, how do I maximize Social Security? And most of us tend to think you wait till 70 and you get the biggest dollar amount. And that may be the right move for you. And then again, it may not. So, as I think it was Warren Buffett said, it's a math problem, right? So
it is.
It's a math problem.
And we can mathematically determine it. In this situation, we actually looked at, should we take Social Security at 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70.
Right.
It just so happened that the largest benefit to their plan was at 63 and 62 when they chose to retire. Because now that extra $345,000 that was added to their plan that they didn't have to spend right away.
Right.
I mean, they can make a huge impact on their kids, on their own lives, whatever they want.
And if you're talking, they were 63 and 62, was that their original plan for retirement at that age? Or were they thinking they were going to retire at 66 or 67? Right. So if they got the good news that you can make more money and you get to retire early, right? That's like a no-brainer.
Well, at that point, it's like, hey, can I retire earlier? Can I retire earlier? Can I retire in a year? And so by putting some thought into when you withdraw Social Security, it may go against the normal thinking of, oh, well, I got to wait till full retirement age, or I've got to do this. There's a lot more that comes into planning other than just like this Social Security, but this was a piece to the puzzle.
Just to kind of highlight, like how, because you're talking big dollars with Social Security, and then obviously, we've got the whole thing out there about what's going to happen with, as a matter of fact, we were going to quickly touch on the fact that they made this ruling, right, about the the windfall elimination change. Supposedly, one of the downsides to this, now this is good for government workers. I think it's going to help about 750,000 people, but the downside is it's supposedly going to hurt the overall fund, right, by 6 months, right? Something like that. So now if they're saying 2033 is when it's going to run out, well, maybe now it's 2032 and a half or something. Who knows what those updated numbers will be, but clue us in on that for folks who don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So on, I don't know, was it January 5th? Biden signed in the Social Security Fairness Act, which basically eliminated the windfall elimination provision, which
the WEP.
So if you had a pension, like my mom is a perfect example. She has a Massachusetts state teacher's pension. She actually taught in Wyoming for years and years and years, and she has all the hours needed, all the quarters needed to collect full Social Security. Mm-hmm. However, because she taught in Massachusetts, her Social Security was subject to the windfall elimination provision, which pushed her Social Security benefit down by a percentage. So she lost a portion of her Social
because she
Security.
had a pension from Massachusetts.
Yes.
Her Social Security payments got reduced. I was talking with somebody earlier today, and they said they had a firefighter, same kind of thing, and he had a Social Security benefit of around $3,000, but because of the act, the original act, it cut it down to like $300 or something like that. Mm-hmm. Pretty substantial. Now, what Biden passed here, or what they're going to be doing, they have to still work it all out, would eliminate that, and they would get that Social Security back. Correct?
Yeah. So they're still working out the details, but that Social Security will be given back. They'll also pay a lump sum benefit for the year.
They're retroing it to 24 as well, I believe.
Yep. So, and it was like a landslide. So Senate passed it 76-20. Like it was bipartisan bill. The government wanted to do this for the American people, but back to my mom, like, so now she's going to get almost a $500 a month raise.
Sure.
Because of this, which is a big deal. It does make Social Security planning a little bit easier. If you've been a long-standing employee at Delta, which we're a huge Delta hub here, and you've got their old pension, you were part of that elimination windfall, which I reached out to a client today. I was like, hey, just so you know, like, this is awesome. I'm going to tell everybody. So like getting the word out is important as well, because people don't realize, they just think, oh man, I'm going to lose Social Security, or I'm going to have this reduced when the law changes.
Yeah.
That could affect your plan. But so
it's an interesting exercise in what our society is like now too, because while it certainly it's a good move for, again, about 750,000 people, it also could cause Social Security to run out of money for everyone a little sooner later on. So it's like the government can never do anything where it seems like it's, just a benefit all the way around. There's always got to be the gotcha.
I think this is the tip of the iceberg with some of the changes that will happen.
Probably, yeah.
We've talked about, the younger generation, Social Security is going to change.
Yeah.
There will be some adjustments that
for sure
that make Social Security healthy again.
Yeah.
But
we won't all like it, but yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, okay. So that's a little extra piece we wanted to add in there. So I guess the big takeaway, Sean, here is obviously strategizing Social Security as part of your overall plan is important. It's not just, hey, I got a collection of the stuff that I did. Here's my 401k and here's my blah, blah, blah. Oh, and Social Security. It's how do you put them together, right? So that you're maximizing, as your illustration points out. Yeah.
Don't take Bob's word down the street. Do some planning on your own.
Yeah. Yeah. Or the guy on the side of the cliff in a mountain range. So so good stuff. All right, well, thanks so much for hanging out and breaking it down. We always appreciate it. As always, if you need some help, click on the show notes. We got links in there to reach out to Sean to get onto the calendar with he and the team. You can find them at elevatemyretirement.com. Again, that's elevatemyretirement.com, and the links are in the show notes. Don't forget to subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube, and leave a comment as well if you'd like to. If you got some questions or thoughts, or if you want us to talk about something on the show, we'll be happy to do so as it pertains to finance. So don't get crazy. We're not going to talk about how to, the optimal temperature for, thermonuclear dynamics, but we'll talk about financial stuff.
I had one person tell me they didn't want to listen to sports anymore. And I was like, well, I love sports. So,
well, we got to do a little bit of that because it's in your blood, right? So,
absolutely.
As a matter of fact, we had to fix the camera because your kid took the camera to go down and film himself practicing hitting balls. He was down there working on his swing. So there you go.
Absolutely.
It's in the family. All right, my friend. Well, thanks for hanging out. We always appreciate your time, folks. And we'll see you next time here on the podcast. Again, don't forget to subscribe to us, and we'll catch you later.
This video has been prepared for educational and marketing purposes only. The information in this video is general in nature, does not constitute personalized investment advice, and does not provide a complete analysis of the subjects discussed. All investments involve risk, and different types of investments involve varying degrees of risk. There can be no assurance that any specific investment strategy will be profitable or suitable to you. Additionally, although information presented in this video is believed to be factual and up to date, we do not guarantee its accuracy. You should consult an attorney or tax professional regarding your specific legal or tax situation, and should consult a professional advisor before implementing any of the strategies mentioned in this video. Investment advisory services are offered through Elevated Capital Advisors LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor affiliated with Elevated Retirement Group LLC. Registration as an investment advisor does not constitute an endorsement of Elevated Capital Advisors LLC by securities regulators, nor does it indicate that the firm has attained a particular level of skill or ability. Insurance advice and products may be offered by a third-party insurance producer, which may be affiliated with Elevated Retirement Group LLC and Elevated Capital Advisors LLC. Mark Killian and Third Wheel Media LLC receive compensation for their assistance in preparing and hosting this video.